Okay, James Loveday, Jack Traynor, how are you both?
Good, mate. Good.
Doing good. Yeah, doing good.
We kind of got a before BGA and a during BGA face it here. You know,
I don't think
I,
I've ever
I,
had hair that good.
It's going. It's going. I'm working it. I'm on the. I'm on the way. I'm on the way.
there we are. We'll give it 24 months and then we'll recruit you for the Bald Guys Alliance, James.
I'll only be bald here. I know it, the family. I'll just be bald here. Everything else will be long.
We'll send you the free
So
screening.
I'm happy.
I was,
I'm happy.
I was chatting to Stu Paul earlier at the Passion in Action event, which was actually
Mhm.
fantastic today, which is really good. And I told him, "You're within 12 months. You're joining, mate. That's on the way." He's like, "No, no, no, no." um,
Some people, they give into it. Some people hold on for their dear life.
yeah.
There's a
There's a
few of them
comb over.
holding on to them.
There's a comb over
Yeah.
happening there, I reckon. Anyhow, gents, the reason I've got you both here today is to pre-launch the new section on this podcast called The Purple Cow. I know James and I've been working in this background for a while, and we're trying to collate the stories, and hopefully this recording here would encourage people to volunteer others of these stories so it can make it come to life. But Jack, you're here now because you posted something this week trying to achieve a similar goal. So maybe let's kick off with that, Jack. Tell us a little bit about what you're trying to achieve there.
Look, I think the three of us know, and I'm sure most people will know that will watch this podcast. There is a lot of negative around the NDIS. Has been, and this is not a recent thing. Has been for quite some time, ever since, the NDIS came to life. The NDIS has always been seen as a cash grab. And there's providers out there that are proving that point to some extent. And I mean, a bad news story will always sell newspapers and will get views and reads, and um, there's not enough shining light on the good. I think, we've started the hashtag, or the movement. I'm hoping for it to become of change the narrative. Alongside Ian Carrigan from Able Plus. Um, I think the people in this industry that are doing good, they want to change the narrative. They want to change how the NDIS is perceived around Australia, and shine some light on the people that are doing good. Because there is a hell of a lot of people in this industry that are in it for the right reasons and are in it to do amazing work and change the lives of the participants that they provide services for.
Yep. Okay. So what is it that you're doing in that space, Jack, to sort of, I know you mentioned Ian there, who's another
Mhm.
gentleman from the Bald Guys Alliance for sure.
Yep.
But tell us what initiatives you're trying to drive here.
I mean, look, I obviously run Caffeine Connections. I'm trying to build communities around New South Wales and soon to be Brisbane, bringing providers together that have the well, align in their values to provide better care and better services for their participants. But also have started an online petition. Look, if that gets 100 signatures, it's better than none. Um, and hopefully, produce that to a member of parliament to try and make something out of it, try and change something for the better. Because it's all well and good to be on podcasts and networking events and around Australia, trying to promote and trying to say, look, this is what we need to do, but it's something else to actually do something about it. And I know there's people that get down to Canberra in the parliament and they speak in parliament, and there are some absolutely amazing people doing amazing things. Um, but there needs to be more of us. The petition that I started was, you know, it's something that I can do alongside everything else that I do in the sector. So if it's only small and I only get 100 or less than 100 signatures on that, it's still something rather than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, I think you're doing some great work, which is why we wanted you here. We wanted to
Yeah.
talk about it, you know.
Thank you
James,
for having me.
listen, yeah, you're welcome, mate. James, like us too, but probably more so yourself, you've probably seen the highs and the lows of providers in this space.
I
So
definitely see the highs and lows. But I also think that we've had some very solid campaigns around the negative in this industry. Everyone seems to have petitions and they're all around the real negative components. And that's not
Mm,
always the negative components that's in bad service providers, but it's negative components
mm,
around cutting, funds to people. There's a lot of just negative press in general. And I think that when we are one of the hugest budgets, we are the biggest budget in theory, probably, against defence in Australia, but we are such a small population and we are very, very unknown. And the whole of society, because we're so small as a working group within the broader society, they really don't understand a lot of the positive things that happen within this industry because all they are fed is negativity, negativity, negativity from every angle. It's not also, it's not always service providers are bad. It's now the NDIA is bad, and now this minister's bad, and now people are losing their funds. It's negative, negative, negative. And I don't think that we've ever. I think right at the start of the NDIS, we had some real positive focuses. The NDIS media team was really pushing positive news stories. But one of the conversations I've had with people is that it's great to have a positive news story that's pushed by the NDIA and NDIS. But who sees it? People on
yes,
their mailing. Who are the people on their mailing list? Us.
yes,
And who are we trying to change? We're not trying to change our approach. We know there's a lot of positive that happens. No one else sees it. It's like, could ABC take this positive story and just drop it onto ABC every so often? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's all these positive stories. We're pushing them out. The other thing is we push our positive stories out across our LinkedIn, across our social media. The problem is the people that need to see it aren't on our LinkedIn's and aren't on our social media. So how do we
no,
get the positive vibe out into the broad? How do we get that into the broader community? And I was actually quite privileged at the end of last year to sit in a quite a high level meeting with um, some of the CEOs sitting in that meeting are in theory are parts of groups and societies that petition for certain parts of the NDIS to the government and alliances. And we were all talking about all these good news stories, but none of them could come up with a way of getting it into the broader community. And I think that that's our biggest. We have all these great stories. Tom has a platform. Hopefully, this 6 degrees of separation helps. Because Tom, one of the things I like about Tom is I'm very NDIS focused. I'm very community focused. So is Tom. But Tom also has such a broad network outside of that looks at his stuff. So by getting those positive news stories outside of our own industry, you might be one person. It might be someone that works in is a mechanic, or I know that
yes,
Tom knows people that do a whole bunch of different things, and they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I saw this thing that Tom did, and it really showed a different to what's in the media, to what other people are saying. So I'm going to go and have a look into that and think about that instead of just being negative, 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 negative. Because to tell you the truth, the negative is breaking me. And I'm a pretty solid human being. It's been around for a long time, and it's breaking a lot of other people. So
yes,
yeah, I just think it's great to have great good news stories, but we really need to work on how do we get those good news stories into the rest of the population, because that's where our biggest problem is.
yes,
You raised an interesting point there, and you're quite right. So my network does stretch outside the NDIS quite significantly, and when I converse with said people and they bring up the NDIS, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, "Oh, there's some dodgy providers. I've seen it on the news. It's
That
being
is the
rorted. It's
exact
been
Facebook
cashed out."
group.
Yeah, so that's their immediate perception. There's nothing there that's positive. It's expensive. It's gone too far. The changes are needed. Da 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 da. Okay. So there's definitely a perception shift that's needed, and if we can play our part in doing that, then that's fantastic. But what do you think we should hope to gain from a perception shift?
Look, I think, you know, from the start of the NDIS, as I said before, it was seen as a cash grab. It was seen as, some support workers are coming in and they're Monday they were flipping burgers at Macca's, and Tuesday they're disability support workers. Some are thrown the deep end, sink or swim with some of our most vulnerable clients. But it's seen as one of those, you can go and register a company with little to no experience in disability or even healthcare. Um, but I think if we are to, if we were to say, see a shift in the narrative, I think there would be there'd be a lot of providers out there that would get found out real quick. And I think what you would be left with is ethical providers that are doing the right thing, that are, trained to provide the services that they are saying they can provide. And you'll see an all around better system where our participants can access genuine services that can better their life, not just now, but long term.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think from so I feel like when the NDIS started, there's 3 different reasons people started a business. Or 4. They were already in it, the
Mhm.
big providers. They were a corporation and going, hey, this is something we can add to our portfolio. They're a business person who wanted to get a cash grab. Or there's actually people that were actually really good support workers, really good allied health and all that, who have started businesses, but probably due to the negativity around the industry, are afraid to ask for help. They're afraid to
Yep.
say, I'm out of my depth. And in that, they make they're making the industry worse because
Mm,
they're not willing to say, oh, I don't understand this component, because they're afraid they're going to be ridiculed and ripped apart. Where in
mm,
all the other industries I've ever worked with in my life, it's okay to say, oh, I'm a bit out of my element with this. If you are a very compassionate person, you're not always going to be the best at business. And I think that because of the pressure that we have on this industry and the way it's seen, it makes it really, really hard. And the cash grab component of it is, there's whole industries that support our industry that are a cash grab industry in themselves.
mm.
Like, do this, you'll make this. You know what I mean? And they never policed that kind of. They're now policing it in hindsight, but they're not policing those components, which has made our industry look really negative. I'm just
But I
hoping that
think
we can.
I think a lot of it to do with is as well, as you said before, you touched on before, if you're a provider and you get a referral and you can't action that referral, you're gonna make it. You're gonna fake it until you make it with some providers. That's how they're getting caught out. Rather than going, hey, I actually can't provide services for you because I don't know how. In your particular instinct, I will forward you on. This is where that gatekeep mentality is coming into it, because they'll get the client and it's all about the money, even though they can't provide it and they know they can't provide best quality care, but they're not referring on. So they're actually not, they're disadvantaging the client by not giving the services they deserve or they require, because of the fact they're scared of losing out on the return to the business, or the package, rather than giving it to somebody else that actually can provide services for that client.
One of
Uh,
the things I've been very focused on is I've always worked in the disability field, and I've got, as I was talking, Tom has a network that's quite big in other industries, but I've always been extremely hesitant over the last couple of
Mm,
years to say that I work in this industry
mhm,
because of the negativity from other people. And I always went with this approach that maybe if they get to know me first, and then I say what industry I work in, um, they'll be like, oh, okay, James isn't a bad person, or, you know what I mean? Like but I realized that in doing that, I wasn't trying to save the industry. I was trying to save my own face, in theory, in front of other people. Um, so I think that we all need to be proud of the industry we're in and be proud of how we're helping people, because I think that a lot of people are very proud internally, but cannot
mm,
externalize that because they're afraid of the ridicule and the negativity. So I think that we really have to just wear it, wear it like, I always wear shirts that portray
mm,
the positivity in the world, so that if someone wants to be negative about what I do, they can see that this is my approach, this is what I say. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Trying to back it up. So yeah.
I think you raised some interesting points there, and I know firsthand, and we've all experienced it. We've seen so many scenarios which are so disheartening, so disappointing, and we wish we could change all of them. But I think one of the outcomes we can get from this is if we can get this positivity back out there, we can showcase best practice. We could showcase real purpose. We could showcase the why this whole system and insurance scheme is here, so that others that see it, maybe there's a provider that needs some education. Actually, I need to put my hand up. I need to ask some more questions so I can do best service. I want to follow their example. So it's monkey see, monkey do. So we may never meet these providers and families of that will benefit from this. Okay, but if we put that out there, this is how it should happen. This is how it could happen. This is the perception that's a little bit more accurate. Then we'll be doing some good.
I agree. I agree. But it's the people that realize that they need that help, putting their hand up to say, "Hey, yeah, I need that help." Because again, it's coming back to that's us not wanting to look weak. Because at the end of the day, as we all know, a provider is a dime a dozen. If a client comes to you and you say, "Hey, I can't do that," then it's a perception going, "Oh, okay, if I actually say that I can't do it, am I going to get future clients through?" And that's a lot of problem with a lot of providers that they just don't understand that you need to be trained before you can provide best practice or best services. So it's putting your hand up and admitting that too, which a lot of providers don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and go on. What was you going to say, James?
I'm thinking about the SDA world and the fact that there's been a lot of negative press around that. So the negative press is that investors are making money, hundreds of thousands of dollars off people with disabilities, and how there's now providers out there that are helping people with disabilities own their own SDA home. But what they're coming up because of the previous negative is that the government's now buying a house for that person, and they're going to own it. So no matter what these people, so you're giving me that look like I need to explain it further, and I'm trying to be short. But in theory, we have massive amount of investors buying SDA, mum and dad investors buying SDA houses, and people found out that they were being paid for these custom homes. These custom homes are beautiful. They're really changing people's lives. But the fact that the way the investments were done put a negative light on it. Okay, cool. That's okay. And now we have the ability for people with disabilities. So people have worked with banks, people have worked with institutions, people have worked with people with disabilities, so that instead of an investor owning their home and people with disabilities having to live in a rental model for the rest of their life, that they can now live in an own your occupied model. And that's great. It's a great story for people with disabilities. They are no longer a part of the rental market. They can be a part of the ownership market. But then you have, because of the previous negativity towards SDA and people understanding the amount of money that you can make if you own an SDA, they then look at the person with disability and go, well, the government's not paying off my house. So it's just this compounding negativity when actually we've just done something really positive. We've actually taken a whole cohort of the Australian population out of the rental market and put them into an ownership market, which is really empowering, and it's a huge topical issue at the moment, is the ownership market in relation to the rental market in general rentals. And then we have this pressure from people going, well, now the government's paying off your own home, and you're like, well, how do you win? Like there's just negativity coming from every side, and there is really positive stories in there, but I've seen these stories posted, and then the negativity from the outside world stops them. You go, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to have to deal with the negativity. I don't want to have to deal with the hater comments, you know? Um, yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that's the purpose of this podcast or not, but I just feel like there's a lot of positive that's put out there and it just gets shut down, and it makes it really hard to put any more positivity out there.
I think there's
Absolutely.
a narrative point here. The big issue that we've got is it's the them and us. Okay, so and that line of separation and what it's the whole what's in it for me. How comes they get it and I don't, and what have you? And that line is dissolved with lived experience. Once you see someone who has a family member who needs X, Y, Z, and whatever, you see the changes, even something like music therapy or whatever it does for them, then you get it. And that whole them and us becomes irrelevant. But I think most people haven't seen these items. They haven't seen the positive impacts. And listen, negativity will always spread quicker than positivity. Even as we're talking, whether we like it or not, we're focusing in on the negatives. You know.
Well, I got one more to add to it, and I always get this because I live in a regional area around support workers. So they'll be like, "Oh, the support, look at the support workers wearing. They're not dressed very nice." But what they don't realize is the actual participant is a 40-year-old man who grew up working in the mines and is working class, and he's now had a stroke and he's in a wheelchair. And if you're wearing a polo, he thinks you're a dickhead. So if you're wearing a t-shirt and looking like him, you're actually making him feel more like he's a part of society and part of his world. But we go, oh, they're being paid this, they have to wear this. Like, it's not like they don't take, there's a difference between equality and equity in theory, and perception and what you actually perceive, and like our point of view and your point of view. And I think people just look at it from such an external point of view that they can't just sit in someone else's wheelchair, sit in someone else's mind and go, well, actually, this is how this person would want to be supported, because the way this person looks, the way this person supports me actually makes me feel comfortable. And you talk about people, like a lot of with the current kind of drop of funds, there's a lot of campaign at the moment around people talking about what it feels like to be a physically disabled person and be showered every single day, to be nude in front of a random human. Okay. And they're talking about the people that make them feel human when they do that. And they're talking about it's because of the way they dress. It's because of the way they interact with me. And it's all these little intricacies, but those little intricacies, quite often society sees as, oh, that person's this or that person's like, no, that's the right person to support that person. That person makes that person's life 100 times better by the way they dress, by the way they speak, by the way they look. Like we are such a superficial society sometimes. I think we have such a superficial approach to how we look at how we support people. And a lot of people aren't looking at we're doing our perception of how people should be supported. We're not looking at how people want to actually be supported. And we're not talking about ours, we're talking about physical interaction. Yeah. We're talking about human to human interaction. So yeah. I might be a little bit passionate, so yeah, just leave that there.
That's why you're here, James. That's why you're here, mate. Okay. All right. But I suppose, actually, I don't know if you recall, you shared a story with us when we was in Melbourne not so long ago, James. And yes, and I think you're up in Darwin, and you shared a story about how you shifted the attention from a participant to yourself just because of how you were dressed.
Oh yeah. So I used to work with children who had high behavioral needs, right? And at the time I had fluoro orange hair, I had multiple facial piercings. I looked a bit wild.
We've all gone
Okay.
through that stage.
Yeah, yeah. The other
Not the
support
orange
worker,
hair.
yeah. The other person the support worker really liked was a big Maori dude, right? And we were vastly different, right? And I probably supported this guy ongoing for maybe 17 years on and off. Whenever I was around, they would find out and go, oh, can you go support him because he's got high anxiety, doesn't like leaving the house, rah, rah. And I met him when he was a very young child. And at his 21st birthday, I said to him, I can't be your support worker anymore. One, you need to choose someone else. I'm not always here. My career's gone somewhere else. And two, like you just need to extend it. And two, I've known you so long now. I kind of consider you a friend, and I don't want to be paid to hang out with you. I actually, I actually like you and you like me, and the relationships become unprofessional in theory. And I said, but there's the one thing I want to know from you is why did you choose me? Because I never ever chose you as a participant. I never ever chose you. You made the decision that I was your person. And why did you do that? And he said to me, and he was like 21 at the time, he said, I suffer from really big anxiety. I think people are looking at me, people are judging me, and all this. And he goes, and when I was out with you, the way you looked, no one was ever looking at me. And I was like, true. And he said, my anxiety was so low because you stood out so much that I could hide. in society. I could be hidden. I didn't feel so. Like I've got friends who are who have. Like, I've got a friend who's got amazing dreadlocks and facial tattoos and all this other stuff, right? And when I convinced her to do support work, she's like, "Why would people want me as a support worker?" I said, "Because you are a real person,
Yeah,
and a real person makes people comfortable. You know, you
absolutely.
fit into people's society. Yeah, you're not going to be able to work with certain people, and that's fine. But in theory, you're going to lower people's anxiety. You're the people with mental health and mental health disorders that you work with are going to love you because you make
Mm.
them feel normal because you look so bloody weird. Yeah, so
That's what I get
but
all
it
the
was really
time.
nice. That's what you get all the time.
Yeah,
But
I
do you
get
get what
all
I
the
mean?
time.
Like this industry is about humans,
Yeah.
and there's a huge. Every human is different, okay,
Mm.
and every human has different needs. And what he liked about the big, I asked him about the big Maori dude, and he was autistic, and this guy's very straight. He said he's fat, man. Beside him, I was always so little, and no one would be. You know, he took up so much space
Hmm.
that I felt comfortable, because
Yeah,
I wasn't being seen. And I was like, that is a really good reason to think
absolutely.
about support workers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so, yeah. That wasn't in Darwin, that was in Townsville. But hey, just struck
Close.
north of us.
I was listening, I promise.
Totally different cohorts of people, but yeah, no worries.
Okay. All right. Well, you mentioned something there, which I think is probably a good segue to then have a bit of a call to action from each of us, really. Um, and what I picked up from there is the term "real people." Okay, and that's where we don't want to desensitize ourselves with the scheme, if you like,
Mm,
and the impact that is had in community through it. So, for me, through the Purple Cow, through us three here today, I want to have a call out for all the real people, the people that are doing amazing work in their little ecosystem. Um, whichever way they touch the scheme, they could be volunteers, it could be a provider, it could be the participant themselves who's just going out and doing some amazing things, but people need to hear about it. Okay.
Mm.
Maybe they're the type of person that is not going to put their hands up and actually, you know what, I've got a story worth sharing. Someone needs to do it for them. Someone needs to say, actually, someone needs to give this person or people an accolade. They need some limelight. People need to hear more of this. Okay. And that's my call to action. I want to hear from as many of these real people, these real stories as possible, so we can pump these out. Let's get a seminar because
Mm.
there's so many of them, but these are the people that don't volunteer and they don't shout the loudest, in my
Mm.
opinion.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
if
I
my
definitely agree.
if I called a call to action, all I would ask for is social media only needs 1 minute of your time for
Mm.
people to look at it. Okay, that's all social media wants is 1 minute, right? When
Hmm.
you are feeling super passionate about a change that has happened, take that 1 minute and videotape yourself in the rawest form. Do not rehearse it, just videotape yourself in the rawest form. And this amazing man here, Tom, Mr. Purple, come up with some form of hashtag that will all
Mm.
hashtag. And before you know it, we have a movement. But
Yeah,
it needs to be passion driven. It needs to be done in the moment. It doesn't need to be
yeah.
rehearsed. It needs to be, I just saw this positive thing happen and I need to voice it to society. I need to release it from my body. And
Mm.
in theory, it only takes 1 minute. 1 minute, 30 seconds is what goes viral.
Yeah.
So let's focus on that.
Okay, that's a great one. And
No,
Jack,
I agree.
if you got any other sort of routes for inviting people in to have their stories shared or told on their behalf?
Mate, I think James hit it on the head. We speak about our why for so long. Like you just mentioned, a passion in action, which is driven by Gigi Bashara and Nikki Don about their why they do what they do. And if you were at Passion in Action last year, which I think you were, um, you would have heard 12 others get up there and speak about their why. You know, I, for one, live my why every day. Whether it's linking people, whether it's providing better services for a participant, whether it's jumping on with two blokes and trying to, give the sector a bit of a shake, and see what falls out of the tree. We've got to find out, we've got to come in. act together and try and bring out that positivity, whether it's a 30-second video at your rawest form and you're just going, oh shit, hold on. I want to speak about that. And I need other people to hear about that, because then it becomes a domino effect. Then it takes one repost, one share, one like, one tag, one comment, and it goes viral.
Yeah, I reckon you're on. I reckon that's a brilliant idea. I think you've reinforced that. And I would suggest anybody that's watching this, and they know one of us three, or even if they
Mm,
don't, they can reach out to any of
absolutely.
us. We'll make something happen.
Mm,
These are positive referrals. They're non-transactional. We're just trying to spread that good news, spread best practice, and educate those that just don't know. So,
correct.
gentlemen, but that's the Purple Cow. It's officially live once this is live. Thank you for your time, and let's see what we can create.
Let's
No
make a
worries.
movement.
You've been waiting there, 20 minutes to get that one out.
No,
He's
I don't
milking
do
it.
that.
He's milking it now, isn't he? He's just milking it.
It just comes out. I don't pay any attention. I just rock up. So,
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. No,
All
I
right,
no
that's
love
worries.
it.
that's
Okay.
utter nonsense. I'm off. See ya.
See ya.
There you go.
Hi there, Mr. Purple here. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. We've got loads of videos coming up. In this case, I would like to share with you an opportunity to have a conversation with me directly. We do lots of business coaching. We work with owners and leaders within business that want to see their business go from here to grow their business and to grow themselves. We are offering a free 15-minute discovery session with myself. If you're interested in that, just book with the message below. Thank you.